Hey, what's up, guys? Life size box, what's going on? Joe in the house. What's happening, Joe? Good to see everybody join in. Happy Friday. It's Friday. What day is it? Friday, December the 13th. Maybe it's Saturday where you're at on the other side of the globe. Some of you guys are just waking up, starting your day. Happy Saturday. And for those of you that are up at 2 in the morning like some crazies, glad to have you. As always, thanks for being here, guys. Going to do a live stream. Going to check out some of these charts, see what is going on with the crypto markets, what's happening with Bitcoin, with ETH, some of the big cap names. Ninja Grasshopper here with some popcorn and beer. And we're going to see what else we want to look at here. I am going to show you guys some previews of the Node Insiders, the new site that I am happy to finally be releasing here. I'm going to start sending out the emails here in a few days or so, maybe this weekend. We'll see if we can get all of that finalized. It's pretty much ready to go. There's a ton of stuff I want to keep adding to it, some additional features, but hey, that'll come with some time. For now, I think it's ready to rock. It's going to be a huge improvement in terms of features and abilities that we're going to be able to do over the last site. So excited to share that with you guys. I'll share more of that here shortly. We'll look at the charts here today. We'll look at Bitcoin, like I said, of course, what's the big picture, where we headed. You know, it's been a relatively quiet couple of weeks, a little bit of chop, some up, some down, and it's overall a narrow range. Here I'm looking at the weekly chart. You can see the weekly chart here over the last, 9 months or so, basically since the run-up that started in April. And the peak, of course, in June, and it's just been kind of a slow drift lower. The longer-term moving averages here, the 10 EMA on the weekly, has undercut the 22 now for the last several weeks, ever since that big spike lower, below 8K. And we've just been living below 8K here for the last several weeks, and then we'll go from here, see where we go. But I mean, it's kind of a tight range. There's been some pretty decent moves in the alts. Oh my god, Matic, what a week it was for Matic. Well, look at that. It was up strong a couple weeks and then bam, smack down. Hope you guys didn't get caught in that, but that's crypto for you sometimes. So let's dig in a little deeper here, just letting some folks coming in here. Remember to hit that like button. Appreciate it here, and feel free to drop your comments, your thoughts here, whatever charts you want to look at. We'll deep dive a few. I'm going to try to keep it relatively short. I always say that. We'll see how I actually do today. I'm going to try to shoot for about 30 minutes. It is kind of late, not late, it's 4:30 my Friday, but it's Friday. I've had a long week, a lot of screen time, working hard. I know I've been a little bit more quiet from the channel side of things, but that's just because I've been so busy with getting the site ready, and a lot of that I was up till probably 1:30 last night working on stuff and up early, so not going to be on here till 3 in the morning. All right, here Devin in the house. Let's see what else we got. Okay, cool. So let's dig into this here a little bit, looking at BTC here. And what I showed earlier was this longer view chart here. We were taking a look at some of the charts on the Slack channel, and I'm just kind of taking longer term views. I posted this, and I'm starting to see a couple more here in recent days. People are kind of catching on to this broader pattern that may be forming. And there's a couple of ways to look at this. Now, keep in mind, this is very long term, right? This is big picture. You can even look at this on the monthly chart, and it kind of gives you a similar view. But if you look at the big picture, and in fact, let's do that here just to kind of make the point. If you look at the monthly chart, and from a trading perspective, let's be clear, I don't ever use monthly charts, but it's always interesting to kind of see the broader view. And what I want to point out here is there's a couple of key levels, right? We had this major breakout in 2017 over that last prior all-time high, and that really kicked off a monster rally here that we saw basically from $1,000 up to $20,000. We all know that. That's old news. But since then, it's been this massive consolidation. And after the most recent peak that we saw in June, we've just basically seen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of decline here. We had one green month here bouncing off that 10-month EMA, but it's just continuing to drift lower. Volume is coming down a little bit on this on the sell side, but it is starting to form a couple of potential scenarios here, right? You have this massive symmetrical pattern that's forming as we head into the halvening. I'll drop a line here on where the halvening is expected to take place, essentially right after that pink line there, sometime in May, so between May and June, basically, between here and here, right? This is going to be the halvening. So I'm going to just drop it at the beginning of May. And so it'd be interesting to see if this just continues to drift sideways and then starts to find a low into the halvening and then breaking out of the upside here. That'd be a huge pattern here, a big symmetrical pattern. Of course, these are neutral in a lot of ways. I mean, it is coming off of a giant rise, so it technically has an upward bias to it. But if you look at the bear scenario here, the flip side, if this continues to drop and it starts to drop below this level, which this would be a big drop, right? At this point, you're talking breaking 5K. And if it starts to do that, then you have the next major must hold support essentially at last December's lows, right around that 3K mark. But at that point, if it really got that low, this would look very bearish, right? Because at that point, you'd start to form this gigantic double top on the monthly. And I'm not saying it's going all the way down to 1K again, but that long, big breakout scenario people would be looking for, you know, new all-time highs over 20K, would be very difficult after a retest of 3K again. That would just be a very bearish scenario. And so just something to note there. This could go either way. If you take the logarithmic chart off of this, which, you know, depends on how you're looking at it, but generally you keep log on, especially after big moves, just to kind of neutralize, right, the percentage gain. But if you take the log off of that, it certainly looks much different, right? You have this massive parabolic move straight down, another spike lower. Could we be seeing a drop back down to 5K again, right? That's the big question here. So key levels to look at on the monthly chart. If it doesn't just start to bounce off of these moving averages here, obviously we're at some long-term support. This 6K level that held is important, and then below that, 5K. Don't want to see that break below that. Below that, things look a little bit more bearish from that perspective. And on the upside, of course, the near-term scenario that I'd be watching here, let's go to the shorter-term time frames here. The near-term scenario that I'd be watching is we had this big outside reversal week a couple of weeks back. Looked like things were getting ready to take off again, right? Massive volume, massive short squeeze. Doesn't look like much on the chart, but if you remember the end-to-end move of that week, and it was really only a couple of days, that was a 40+% move in Bitcoin in literally 2 days. And so got to keep that in mind. That's a massive weekly reversal. So that's a key week, key price points to be watching there. So on the way up, if things really start to take off again, I'd be watching this overall level here, as that did form some resistance and it lined up with some prior selling pressure. If we look at that month between August, September, there was a lot of distribution showing up there, a lot of sellers before the big break lower, and then we had that fake out to the downside, massive spike higher. That's right where it paused, and it's just been rolling over ever since then, making new lows. And so on the way up, certainly want to see that level taken out. Doesn't mean you got to wait until that point to say, okay, it's time to go long, but that's certainly going to be an interesting level to be watching if it does start to reverse. But that's going to be the bigger numbers that I'm looking at here as we start to dial in here and just really look at the tradable type of things, right? The 4-hour and the daily charts, which is what I use. We've seen a lot of choppiness here over the last couple of weeks. It's just kind of been a very narrow, very choppy range. I've been playing this a little bit slower lately. I mean, during this whole section here, pretty much was out. It was just too much for me. I was leaning bearish. Then I saw the big spike. Then it dropped. Did a little bit of a bounce trade, you know, back in this time frame here. I think I did. That was my last live stream, to be honest. And then, you know, 7,700 was where I was getting out, and, you know, it ended up peaking out just above that. And then this week took a small short play on the 4-hour chart for this little thing here, and basically flat at this point now. So just been keeping it relatively low, relatively quiet here. A few alt trades here as well. Seeing the notes here, yeah, we'll definitely take a look at some of these. Let me make some notes here. Link, Tezos, What else do you guys want to look at here? Hello from Australia. And I've got a few names. We'll go over all the bigger caps and see what the alerts are looking like here as well. And we'll take a look at Matic. All right. So it's been a relatively quiet week. So near term, we're just in this very tight range, $200 range, basically. That's what I'll be watching here, is this little window. But the key levels remain the same here overall. The levels that I've been watching here personally, just some round numbers, 7,600 on the upside, and then above that, 7,800. Those are the two big levels on the upside. And then on the downside, basically where we're at now, right, this 7,100 level that held again. That's going to be a key support level to be watching. And then below that, you could say 7K. I don't think it holds if it breaks below 7,100. Then I'd be looking at some of these wick lows down here. So the upper 6Ks again. Do we see a retest of the upper 6Ks? This little window back here is a wide range, but that's the next level. But in the very near term, those are the two levels that I'm watching. Basically, most recent lows from this week, call it 7,100. Very short term, if it breaks above 7,350, I think that's going to kick off some more upside testing, and then we'd have to wait until 7,600 to see if it's going to start to break out of this little range that it's been in. Again, looks choppy when you zoom in, but when you zoom out, look at that daily chart. I mean, we had big moves here, big bounces, and then things have just been starting to really coil up, get narrow. They don't always last very long in this range, so I expect we're going to break out of this range here in the coming days, up or down, don't know. The long-term trend is still leaning bearish, has a bearish bias to it, but we have seen a bounce here, potentially a higher low forming, potentially a little bit of a double bottom forming here on this most recent test on the 7,100. So it's kind of neutral, right? And that's kind of the direction I'm taking, is a little bit more neutral. Longer-term chart still looks bearish. And here we are kind of heading into the end of the year. It's going to be interesting to see if we see another repeat of last year, with January kind of kicking off a little bit of a rally. The halvening. So there's still, from a crypto timing perspective, right? A week is a month in crypto sometimes, and a month is like 6 months. And we have quite a bit of time, and we have until May before the halvening. And so I'd like to get your guys' thoughts. Is that played out? Is that even going to matter now? There's talk about the miners capitulating and what's going on into the halvening. Do we go up? Do we go down? And it's going to just be interesting to see how that plays out. And they're all a little bit different. We had a halvening this year, right? Remember Litecoin? Litecoin rallied into the halvening and topped well before it, and then just really started to decline going into the halvening several weeks out. And then at the halvening, there was barely a blip, and it's just been straight down since then for Litecoin. Now, keep in mind, that's Litecoin. It's certainly not anywhere near as big as Bitcoin in terms of market cap or crypto dominance, but it does give us a little bit of perspective there. And more often than not, it's a sell the news type of event. Very often they're priced in, and I wonder, how much of the rally that we saw this year was some of that leading into that, right? Some of the halvening there. So let's see here. Raven Mana, we'll definitely look at those here. I did have a position in Mana this week. It's closed out now, but definitely one that's been on my radar here. Cool. Steam. Yeah, Steam has been moving lately. I've noticed that. Steam has been on there. Mr. Fatface. I didn't call you names. You called yourself that. Cosmos. Yeah, we'll look at that bad boy here, Adam. Okay. So those are my thoughts on the BTC here. Let's go through a few more here. Before we get going, let me see here. We'll look at that later. This is the Node Insiders site. Many of you guys are familiar with this. Many of you guys have tried it out. Like I said, there's a big upgrade, a rebuild happening, a rebrand in some ways on some of this. We're going to be doing a lot more with this. But essentially what we're doing is we're keeping the alerts. We're going to keep, obviously, the BMI momentum index, but we're building off of that here. Here's a little bit of a preview, right? This is essentially what the new site's looking like here. It's got the BMI matrix here. I'm going to have to basically redo a lot of the tutorials and a lot of the video on this stuff here to kind of explain some of this and explain how it's pulled together. But the site's going to be a little bit more of a freemium, right? Whereas before you didn't get access to any of this until you actually signed up. There was no free trial version or anything like that. I thought about doing a free trial version here, but essentially what I decided to do is just make it a freemium version where, you know, as a visitor, you'll still get some of this data, like you'll get some of this, some of the charts, you'll get like the top 3 trending names and maybe like the top 5 alerts, but then that's it. You won't get any bot status. You won't get this bot status here. You won't get the watch list names, right? So it'll be kind of limited, but I'm making it freemium just so people can see what it looks like before actually subscribing, right? As opposed to giving them a free trial and doing that. So I'm doing that. I'm also going to open up some of the video library. So some of the tutorial training videos, some of the videos that are essentially on this course here, this video course, a bunch of them are now going to be open for free here. Not all of them, because obviously people have paid for this course, but a handful of them just to kind of give you a sample of what the videos are like. And so you'll get some of those, and I'll release a list of those that are going to be available, and you can come check them out here for free on nodeinsiders.com when this new site is live. So you know, quite a few things coming. I'm going to be able to do more, you know, automated alerts for you guys. Going to be able to do some email alerts when the bot status changes. I'm really excited about the bot status. I think some of you guys will like that. And this trending list is pretty cool here. And so all of this is basically based on the 4-hour BMI, this bull momentum index, which is a proprietary indicator that I developed. That's this red and white thing down here at the bottom. And with that, I'm using that to do some trading strategies, both short-term and long-term. We look at the 4-hour charts, the daily charts against that BMI, and that's what generates a lot of the stuff you see on the site. You know, the trending names, the bot status here. You can see there's, you know, for every top crypto, we're going to have, you know, a bot status. We'll have a combined BMI rating for those top cryptos. So you got to get a quick overview of what's strong versus Bitcoin, what's not, and you know, we'll take a look at some of these today, see how it's actually playing out. And the alerts are still here. They're just on a different tab. You can filter these out as well. So good stuff. A lot of stuff coming. I'm excited. It's coming along nicely. It's, you know, it's been a couple of months of working hard on this, but we are there. We're nearly there. So let's see. Using this here then, you can see at the top of the list here, there's a few names. Tezos obviously has been on a run. Quantum has been showing some good strength here. OST, let's see here, Power Ledger, maybe Grin, Theta, Wade's Funfair. Oh my God, there's a name from yesteryear. Zcash, a lot of the privacy coins here. I saw Monero on this list here yesterday, so we'll see if some of those names are looking here. So let's take a look at some of those here. So let's go to the XTZ here first. Personally, I think it's a little extended now at this point. It's had a run. It just continues to march higher. I mean, if I was on it now, I'm not saying it's a sell, but would I be buying it here? I personally would not. It's just had a very big run. I'd at least wait for a little bit of a pullback to the moving averages. And when I'm doing a trend following strategy, what I like to use is a moving average pair. I use the EMAs, the exponential moving averages. My two favorites are the 10 and the 22. I go over that in some of these EMA videos here, and what I like to do is use that as a value area. It doesn't mean you wait for it to touch exactly the line, but this space between the moving averages is generally a good value zone, both on the 4-hour and the daily. But when the daily is starting to get a little extended, I use the higher time frame as opposed to the shorter time frame for those pullback entries. So if it does pause here, I'd like to see a little bit of sideways action, let some moving averages catch up. You do want to make note though, the volume is spiking. Look at this entire move up, right? This entire move, the highest volume we've seen is basically today's volume, and it's a red day. It's forming a reversal doji. So best case, it's probably due for a little bit of a pause, but it is extended, right? RSI on the daily is starting to get up there. But it's very strong. It's kind of in no man's land. There's no resistance here. I mean, it's, you know, it's got ways to run, but it's at this point, it's anyone's guess. There's no like upside resistance here. You're looking at the Coinbase side on USD. It's basically back to where it kind of debuted here, break it out a little bit. So, you know, could keep going. I'd like to see a pause, a little bit of a pullback personally. If you look at the USD side, this last little breakout zone around $1.40, $1.45, that would be an ideal place for me if it could pause, pull back above that point, maybe set up an ascending triangle base, cup and handle or something, and then look for an entry point at that level. That's what I'd like to see on Tezos, but hey, you can't argue with it. It's very strong. Let's go back to the BTC pair, zoom in a little bit. If you look at the 4-hour chart, just been marching along, had that pretty good shakeout, pull back here, bounced right back, gave you a little bit of a break, broke out here, pulled back to the moving average. That was a nice secondary entry point. But again, a little bit of distribution showing up here on the volume patterns, the selling spiking with versus the buying not so much. So, you know, not saying it's going to come back down, but at this point, I'm not sure I'd be chasing it. The risk is much higher from this point, and it's all about risk-reward ratio. Let me see here. Yeah, we'll look at Zen. So that's XTZ here. I'm going to go back here real quick. I'm going to start with some of the bigger cap names here. Just a handful of them. So looking at ETH versus Bitcoin. If I zoom out here, go to that daily chart, ETH BTC, again, the trend is not your friend, just continues to lose ground versus Bitcoin, but it is finding a little bit of support here in the most recent days here. So something to be watching, starting to bounce here a little bit. I'd like to see it finally take out some resistance, right? It's always fought this resistance against these moving averages here for the last, you know, what, since November month end. And so this is where I'd like to see it break out above. On the 4-hour chart, you can see here just kind of range bound, getting above that 0.0202 would be an ideal level to be watching for a near-term early signal of a reversal starting to take place on the BTC pair. If you look at ETH USD, where we at here on Coinbase, it is bouncing again, but right into that moving average. Again, very narrow, very tight range. If it breaks out on the BTC pair, you could see a corresponding breakout here on this side. So I'd be watching this one. ETH is looking like a potential bounce, but again, it's all it is at this point. It's just a bounce within a broader long-term downtrend. Nothing to get crazy excited about. It's just failed all the way up here since peaking out in, you know, last year. It's just been dropping. So, or not last year, September, but that's what I'd be watching here in the very short term. Yeah, a little bit of an inverted head and shoulder. I mean, it's a tiny one. I'm not sure I'd call it that. It feels more range bound to me, but you can call. I mean, certainly there's a case to be made for that. There's the signature. You know, it's not as deep as I would like to see a head and shoulder type of pattern. You generally like to see it deep, so that way you can measure like some of the fib levels. USD side. Let's go look at that. Daily, the dollar pair just looked more like a wedge to me. You talking longer time frame? 4-hour? I don't know. I'd be watching maybe this one down here. I'd just be watching this. I mean, it just looks like higher lows, kind of wedging higher. So that's the cleaner setup for me. 145, 146. Getting above that's pretty solid. A little breakout in the near term. Let's see here. Cool, yeah, posted on the Slack, and I saw your Litecoin chart, and I like that. Let's pull that one up here because that was a good observation there on Litecoin. If you look at the bigger picture here, potential big falling wedge, LTC, BTC. You know, just starting to reverse course here, so I'd be watching this one as well. I mean, some of these bigger cap alts, right? They're good overall indicators for the alt market strength. ETH, Litecoin, when they start to rally versus Bitcoin, starts to show you that maybe it's better to be in alts versus Bitcoin. Right now, it's just been a mixed bag, right? Bitcoin's been under pressure. Some of the alts have been rallying, but it's been a very pick your poison type of market, and generally it's been a get your profit and move on to the next one type of market, because it hasn't been across the board. Again, it's just been selective names running for a week or so, and then they rotate. All right, so that's it for these guys here. Let's see what else we got going on. I'm going to look at Quantum and OST here. Try to move through these here quickly just to see what's going on here. So Quantum, I put this line on the chart here. That was the first target resistance. Look at like it hit right to that and is pulling back from that level. I'd like to see it hold. This is the 4-hour view. I'd like to see it hold basically right where it's at now to around, where the 22 EMA will be when it starts to catch up to it. So call that 2500 to 2570 or so on that BTC pair. Holding above that would be ideal. That would also line up well with this prior resistance that it broke out from, and so that's a good secondary entry level to be watching here if it's going to continue higher. Going to that daily chart, looks good, looks like it has room to run. If we pull up the RSI MACD, daily RSI has room to go. MACD is just pushing higher. Again, this would be a solid breakout if it can start to close above 2700 on that BTC pair. OST, nice couple strong days, big volume on those daily candles here, and starting to really break out of range after a long consolidation. Solid breakout today. Finally looks like it's going to close above that resistance. If you look left even further, I mean, this is a big resistance level that it's been fighting for since what, July? Wow. And just pulling back, bumped into that level in October, wicked above it here late October, tried again in November. Looks like it might finally be breaking through here. We'll see how long this one goes, but this is one that's come off a long ways down. I mean, holy smokes, 7,000, 8,000 sats to 100 sats. That's nuts. But hey, you're looking for a trade, this might be a little bit of a good bounce trade finally breaking out here. OST. All right, let's see what else is on the trending list. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm just going to cover the first handful. Power Ledger, I'll skip that guy here. Grand, Theta, maybe Theta. Let's look at Theta, and we'll go to another list from here. Theta, again, another similar one. This one's been a little bit range bound, but in recent days, trying to get going again. If you zoom out here, look at the daily chart. Big range being dropped here. Long time low starting to be established here around 800, 900 sats. And if you go to the top side, about 1300. And so that's kind of the big breakout range. Starting to get above that would be a significant level on the daily chart. Looks like it's a little extended here near term, but again, these lower cap, lower volume names, they tend to spike pretty quickly. I mean, you look at some of those daily candles, they're big moves, right? 22% in 2 days, 13% in 1 day here. So, these smaller cap names certainly move, but it cuts both ways. Look at the downside, could be just as quick, just as fast and furious as Matic. Speaking of Matic, has it bounced back yet? Nope, still dying. Don't catch those fallen knives. Whew, that's a fallen sword right there. Man. Yikes. Moving on. Moving on. Oh, man. All right, let's see here. So we did Link, Tezos, Matic. Let's go to some of the other names you guys are asking about, and then I'll go through a few more. We'll see how they're going. Link still rolling over. I was watching Link. I had that nice run up. I was watching it back here, hoping that they would form a little bit of a kind of bull flag, bounce off that moving average and get going again. And then it just sliced right through, and I'm like, it's pretty much done at that point. And you can see since then it's just nothing, right? It's just kind of drifting lower. If you go to the daily chart, not looking too good. Had the big pullback versus Bitcoin. Nice spike again. Was looking for that pullback secondary entry to get going. Just no follow through from that big move we saw here a few days back. Was kind of holding up good when everything else was really selling off as Bitcoin was dropping again. This one did show some good relative strength. It's right back to that point. I guess the one positive here would be the volume on this day was very strong, and the comparative selling volume the last 3 days has been pretty light. And so that's your one positive there. It is right back to that level that it bounced from here. So you want to see it hold here, I guess, if you want to watch it for a bounce here around this level. But big picture, still not showing as much relative strength as some of these alts. If it can recapture, call it 29.6 or so, that'd be the level I'd be watching as a potential reversal. Then looking at it from the USD side, very similar style, so very similar picture here. Not a whole lot for me to get excited about just yet. I'd like to see it show some reversal action first, and it looked like he was trying to. It was like, okay, here we go, and then just no follow through, fizzled out. Raven coin, nice big spike, gave it all back here very quickly. This big red bar was on the back of you know, some of the Matic drama. You saw a lot of names do something similar, right, that had been moving higher. FET gave up back a lot of that. Harmony did as well. So there was a lot of kind of fallout from that Matic drop. And some of those just haven't recovered since then. Saw Raven pulling back, giving back a lot of ground after a very strong move. Man, it's too bad. You like to see those breakouts hold and then push another leg higher and finally take out some long-term resistance. This is just bearish action, no doubt about it. I mean, how do you trade something like that? Generally, this is not a strong setup. You know, I mean, you see that big spike, maybe you tighten the stops, take some profits, but when you see it totally reverse like that, you know, would I be interested in buying? From a trading perspective, personally, that's not my forte. You know, from a long-term point of view, if you like the fundamentals, you like the project, you know, you tend to look for those value zones to buy into, but near term, just pretty bearish action all around. Mana. Going to Decentraland here. Nice little bit of a breakout. It came on my radar, what was that, a week and a half ago, when it had that big spike over the weekend and then just kind of pulled back. I was watching it here as it started to consolidate, and sure enough, this week it started to finally push out of that range here, this near-term resistance. So I did jump on it here earlier in this week for a little bit of a trade. I've cleared most of that out at this point. It's still holding the daily 10 EMA, so got to give it the benefit of the doubt. But given, you know, taking most of it off at this point, we'll see where it goes. Don't want to see it get below, I don't know, 350, maybe 340 at the most. If it gets below 340, it's a failed breakout that moves over at that point from this particular setup. Bigger picture, though, again, just coming way off the lows. A long-term view, if it finally can take out, you know, call it 400, 415 on the BTC pair, that'd be a significant reversal. Maybe you start to see some more upside momentum at that point. On the USD side, I don't know what that translates to, like 2.5 cents or 3 cents or something. Let's see. Most people don't trade it on the USD side, I'm guessing. Mana, let me see here. Yeah, 280. So, all right, next one, Steam. What is going on with Steam? So we looked at this one a while back. It was range bound. I'll extend the lines here. Still kind of range bound, but I don't know. Steam's still around? Are they doing stuff? I haven't followed this project lately, so I don't know what's going on with Steam. I saw somebody complaining on Twitter about the decentralization and the censorization of blogging platforms like Medium, and how they wished there was a crypto equivalent, a decentralized equivalent of Medium, so they can post without being censored. And my first reaction was, whatever happened to Steam? Wasn't that supposed to be the solution? Steam was supposed to be the decentralized Facebook, blah, 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 Twitter, Medium maybe. So anyway, token's still alive. Apparently some big volume. Looks like it's being accumulated. There's a lot of volume spikes happening here. You can see these big spikes. Not sure what's going on. Again, haven't been tracking the project, but the chart is certainly starting to put some lines in the sand here. A little bit of a range being established, and here in the last couple days, looks like it was trying to poke out of there. So definitely one worth watching. If it can take out that range, really no resistance up until this next level up here. Call it 2280, maybe 2550. So that's what I'd be watching on the Steam side of things. And certainly don't want to see it lose 1500 below that. Looks pretty ugly. Atom. So looking at this bad boy here, just continues to march higher. Was looking like a rising wedge here, but looks to have finally broken out. There's another way you could look at it here. You can say this was, you know, a little bit of a pause, breakout there. Now it's breaking out. Certainly would be valid. The lower trend line just continues to hold. The moving averages continue to hold, just marching along higher. Looking at the RSI, however, those bearish divergences continue to remain in place. So that's kind of the big red flag. I'd be cautious about this one because of that. But other than that, I mean, the momentum's there. The trend is your friend. Absolutely a very strong name. Has been, you know, one of the stronger alts versus Bitcoin since that September low. Just very nice. How much has that moved already? About 200% since the September low. And so very nice, just marching along here again. Very near-term stuff though. Some bearish divergences showing up. Again, not always a sell signal, but it is signifying some potential loss in momentum on the upside here. Looking at it on the short term, looking at the 4-hour charts, maybe a little bit of a pullback right here where it's at now. If it holds the blue line here around 20, what is that, 52.69, 52.70, that could be a good pullback entry. You want to see it hold below that. It starts to look like a failed breakout. Then I'd really get cautious considering what the daily chart looks like. And last but not least, we'll look at Zen here. Zooming out to that 4 hour, just continues to march higher, man. Just been a strong move, and I'm gonna extend some of this here. This was from the last live stream. We looked at it again, paused right at that last resistance level. Is that it, or will it push through? The trend is certainly your friend. A lot of volume coming in on the way up. That's good, and it is just, I mean, important thing to note here is that a key resistance level getting above 9,000 would be a big move. Then above that, got room to run till around 12.2, call it. So that's your next big upside target if it can take out that 9,000 sat level. And then on the downside, I'd just be watching those moving averages. I mean, you lost it here as a little bit of a fake out followed by a strong reversal, but if it starts to really hold below that for more than a day, then it's probably due for a pause at that point. Let's go back to Bitcoin here. So looking at the BTC, what's next, guys? Are we going to break 7,000 or are we going to break 75 first? Not sure. It's, you know, it's very neutral. Potential double bottom forming here. 7,100 is key level. I think if it loses 7,100, 7,000's gone. We'll see what that looks like. It looks like it's ready to crack here. The daily chart. So going to that bot status here. I'm gonna put some documentation together for all of this stuff here. But there's essentially going to be two bot strategies that are going. This is, you know, basically an automated trading strategy. So it's not like I'm manually saying, hey, I'm flat here or short here or anything like that. It's just what the trading bot's doing. And so I'm looking at two strategies: long strategy and short strategy, 4 hour and daily, right? And that's what these two charts are here. And essentially all that does is just translates this big, ugly, messy thing that I've got going on here into what the status is, right? So if you look at the daily chart here on the right, you know, it was short signal here, then it went flat. This white bar means it went flat. Then it was long, then flat for a few days. Then it went short. Let me highlight some stuff so you guys can see, right? Then it went short. Then it was short. Then it went flat here. Then it went short again. And just last couple of days has been choppy. Then it went flat, then it's short again here for the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. And so that's essentially the daily strategy. The 4 hour one obviously takes a little bit, you know, quicker view of things, but it's a very similar strategy. So it went short here, stayed short for the last several days, finally went flat here yesterday, and that's where the status is. So that's how that translates into, you know, trading strategies flat, trading strategies short. Daily strategy and the long-term strategy. So, and then again, apply the same approach here to some of these alts, and that's what we're getting here. So let's look at some of these. What are these saying? So Atom, long on daily, long on 4 hour. We looked at that one again, very strong. Link, long on day, short on 4 hour. Okay. Definitely not going to go with that. Still saying weak on the BMI. Let me see. NEO strong on the BMI, but the trading strategy is showing flat. And again, that's because there's some filters around it. It takes a higher time frame, and if it's below certain moving averages, it won't go long. Monero and Tezos. We know Tezos have been strong as well. Let's go look at NEO. NEO. Look at the BMI on Litecoin. Litecoin showing bullish. BAT, Atom. And again, these are all versus BTC, right? So these pairs are all on the BTC side. Let's go look at some of these here. So NEO. NEO is looking pretty strong here in the very short term. 4 hour view. Taking out some resistance here. Daily chart. Maybe turning the corner, finally getting above some key moving averages. The 10 EMA is still below the 22, but if this continues for another day or so, that'll see a bullish crossover. So, we're seeing a little bit of a reversal on NEO. I'd be keeping an eye on it. If it loses this level, obviously there's a very clear line in the sand there below that 1150, then it's a done deal. But looks like it could be bouncing here. How's NEO look on the USD side? NEO still, still trending lower. maybe wedging, similar to some of these others. Could be seeing a break out of this little declining wedge, so I'd be keeping an eye on it. All right, what else? So Neo, Tezos, those are the only two strong alts. And so what I'm listing here is just some of the bigger cap names. This is like the top 17 names that I've cherry picked. I'm going to definitely open it up to you guys once this site goes live. I'm going to probably make room for a few more so we can have 20 names on here, and maybe I'll keep like a rotation list going, so every month or two we'll update it, and based on what you guys want to see on here. But for the most part, it's bigger cap names. You can see here I've got it sorted by symbol. So Cardano, Atom, BAT, Bitcoin Cash, BNB, Dash, EOS, ETH, IOTA, Link, Litecoin, Neo, Tron, Monero, Lumens, Ripple, and Tezos, and whatever other three you guys want to add on there. Okay, I think that's it for today, guys. Not sure what's moving right now. Let's see here. We'll take off some of these guys. Zcash was on the move. Spend, a bunch of KuCoin names. Data on the move. Let's see here. Data. Zcash. Zcash is on the move. BitTorrent, oh my god, that's coming off the bottom. OST, we looked at that at the beginning of the stream 5 hours ago. Okay, those are getting a little old there, so. Yeah, finally popping. Seeing a nice little decline here on this bad boy. Look at that. Maybe it's done for a little bit. Maybe it's going to bounce. Some big volume coming in. Yeah, so a little bit about this site. I covered it briefly. So essentially this site is going to be a rebuild of what is currently the Node Insiders site. So the Node Insider site is getting a facelift, complete facelift. Obviously, we're going to keep a lot of this stuff here the same. So like the video training course will still be available. But I am going to open it a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit of a freemium site now, whereas before you had to be a subscriber to get access to this. Now you'll have some of the videos available to you. You'll have this available, this, a few of the trending names for free. But as a subscriber, then it opens up all the rest of the content for you. The bot status, the watch lists, the alerts, and all this stuff. And then we're going to set up an email so that way whenever the Bitcoin trading bot status changes, whether it's daily or 4 hour, we'll send an email out to the subscribers just basically saying, hey, the bot status has changed. And just a whole bunch more new features coming in. I guess, like I said, the video courses, they'll be available, not all of them for free, because this is again paid content, but some of them will be available for free. So a handful of each of these are going to be available, so you can sample them, and quite a bit, right? Like TA rules, all the psychology rules, one of the risk management ones, a handful of the indicator ones. So again, that'll be there. So, and any new courses that get added to this, again, will just be open there. I'll keep the TA 101 on here. Still working on it, and I know Jake's been asking. I promised you guys a Trading View course that'll be added on here. Again, mixed, free and paid. Most of it will be free. It'll all be free. The only part that's going to be paid is, or not paid, but the subscribers only. I'm going to do a section on how to write your own indicators and trading strategies and all that, kind of like how I did here. I know some of you guys want to learn how to do that on your own and being able to do all the back testing and all that fun stuff. And it can get a little complicated, but TradingView is just an amazing tool, very powerful in what it lets you do. And so I'm going to put together a video on that, or it's going to be a handful of videos on just that, but that'll be probably a paid version training there. So more to come. There'll be more of that, and there'll be some changes, right, to the way the old site was managed and some of the watch list stuff. That'll still be there, but some upgrades, some changes. But all in all, it's looking pretty good. I'm excited about how it's coming along. So again, we'll probably be live. I'm going to send it out to the current subscribers first, and then the Slack folks, so we can start onboarding, and then kind of launch it live once we've made sure it's tested out. I've been testing it lately, but I just want to make sure. You know, you're always nervous once you finally open it up and you guys start breaking stuff. That's how it goes, man. All right. I think that's it, my friends. Nobody asked about EOS or Bitcoin Cash. Well, I've gone about my 30 minutes that I was saying, so I will probably call it a day. Go get some dinner, relax for a couple hours, maybe watch some Mandalorian, see what else is going on here. Herman in the house. All right. Oh yeah, VeChain. We'll look at that too. Let's see here. EOS. You know, I was liking EOS from the BTC side. Let me go to that one first, because it was forming that little bit of a breakout setup, and then it just didn't follow through here. So what I was watching here is it was looking like you wanted to take this out. It had that set up here, pulling back. I wanted to see this almost like a little handle form right here, and then finally take out that 4,000 sat level. And, you know, longer term, that's really the key level to be watching, and then, you know, as a resistance level, if it can finally get going here. And we've seen EOS before. EOS can move quick when it finally decides to move. But, you know, even from here up, that's, you know, it's only about a 10% move, right? So getting through that zone there would be the level I'd be watching here on the upside. On the downside, you know, you can say it's forming a little bit of a ascending triangle wedge type of pattern. Higher low starting to really set up here, but that doesn't really mean as much. On the bottom, I'd be keeping an eye on just kind of the longer term low that is really put in here. This big picture view, losing 3,100, that's a no-no. Would be ugly there for EOS. But like so many alts, I mean, it's just been the story for the last couple of months. Like they've had this huge drop and then just starting to form this big flat. At least they're going flat, right? They're not just losing ground versus Bitcoin. But, you know, Bitcoin's kind of at an interesting juncture here. So it's going to be interesting to see if it, you know, impacts the alts in one way or the other when it finally gets going again, whether up or down. But, you know, a lot of these alts are forming these big bases, and many of them have already reversed and started to march way higher, right? We've seen some of those here. So be watching some of those here. Should be a run up to the beta release. Oh yeah, that's right. EOS Voice coming out here early next year. That's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, you do see that with these projects, especially the bigger ones, right, where they do see some run up. Orchid, I just saw that. I don't know what Orchid is. Somebody was asking about that earlier on the Slack, saying, what is this project? I have no idea. But EOS, let's go to EOS dollar. And EOS is a favorite of mine to trade. I do like keeping an eye on it for sure. EOS dollar. I mean, you had a little run up to 361 there. Most near-term resistance about 288. That's probably the level I'd be watching, that 280s level. Getting above that, you could see a push into this upper levels, upper mid threes or so. And on the downside, I probably wouldn't do anything with it until it cleared that level. IOST. Apparently we were looking at this one here. Let me clear my mess. IOST, this kilo I've been watching there, 80 sats. 80, man, such a low cap. Those small names, but yeah. IOST. All right. Boom. Yeah, I don't know how XT is. Binance coin. Fading a little bit here versus Bitcoin. Needs to break those moving averages. I'm going to cycle through the big cap names real quick. Call it a day. Ripple. Ripple was showing some relative strength. It's starting to go flat here. We'll see if it can start bouncing here. Getting above 3,100 near term, and then 32 would be good. XRP dollar, how's that looking? Yeesh. Tron. Since BitTorrent's moving. Still trending lower versus Bitcoin there. Oh, VeChain. Poor Puma. I'm just ignoring you, VeChain. Nobody wants to look at VeChain. I'm kidding. VeChain, interesting here. So I had this line on the chart here from way back after I had that big run up, right? I was highlighting that as, hey, this is near-term resistance here on the daily chart. Sure enough, we saw a pullback right to that level. Then it started going. Looked like it was going to get going and finally take it out. Has pulled right back from there again. So a little bit of double top scenario forming here potentially. Don't want to see it get much lower than it is now. On the positive, could also, and again, double tops are not double tops until they confirm breaking below the neckline, which this one hasn't. So on the positive, you know, potential ascending triangle starting to really form on the longer term chart here, daily chart of V-chain. But you want to see it hold. It's already starting to get a little deep here. If it hits, what is that, 5,100, that's very double toppy at that point. So, hey, if you like it here, this might be the place to look at it. V-chain versus Bitcoin. Looks a lot uglier there. You saw the bearish divergences forming on that second spike that we saw most recently here. Big push higher, big volume at the top, a lot of distribution. RSI was nowhere near as strong, neither was the MACD histograms, and it's been just drifting lower since. 0x. 0x. You know, this one's interesting. A little bit neutral on this guy, just because I didn't like it here because it was looking like it was just wedging after this big drop. And I thought, no, that just looks weird. It's going to break. And then it kind of pulled back. It did break, but then it held and bounced again. Now it's just a little bit more neutral. At least it's had time to digest some of that move and kind of just go flattish. It's not necessarily strong, especially considering the nice steady trend it had. You know, it's just kind of been choppy ever since then. Probably this is the level I'd be watching. This is a significant level here. If you look left, there was some little bit of, you know, resistance there. Pulled back, broke out, pulled bounce from there. So right where it's at now, call that 2,900, would be an ideal level for it to hold. But you know, if it did bounce here, I'd probably wait until these moving averages started to cross again, which wouldn't take a whole lot. But just kind of range bound and just choppy. If I was in it, I'd probably still stay until it started to really lose that level there. So at this point, right, it's been a strong move. It says Ninja Grasshopper. Wabi. So Wabi broke out here, pulling right back to the line. See if it can hold there. I don't know. Was that news that drove that prior run up? I can't remember. I know it was on a nice little run for a while. Pulling right back, so you know, somewhere between the prior breakout level and this rising trend line would be an interesting place to see if it can hold. RSI's also had plenty of time to cool off. Still above that important 40 level on the daily chart. 4 hour, I'm guessing a little oversold now. Just bouncing, just choppy on the 4 hour. I'd use the higher time frames on this guy. Populous. Oh, there's a name from yesteryear. Populous, breaking trend, breaking trend. We'll see here. Horizontal support on this guy is right here. 6,000 to about 5,600. Bounce level. Look at where it failed, right at the prior resistance. Interesting. Beam. Yeah, MCO. It's never going down ever again. That one's just been on a tear. Nice little breakout on Beam. Very good on that 4 hour chart. Pushing right through here. Pretty nice, pretty nice. You know what we didn't check here was the watch list here. Was Beam on there? Yeah, it was. Beam. On the top BMI watch list. Nice. Yeah. MCO is just steady Eddie. Look at that. Since September. Very nice. All right. Okay, my friends. Hey, well, I'm going to call it a day, call it a night, and go home, get some dinner, and chill out for a little while. But thanks for being here. And looking forward to kind of getting back on a little bit more of a regular routine with you guys, a little bit more regular schedule. I've been on a working vacation, getting that other stuff done, but we are very, very close, and it's been a lot of work, but it's coming along nicely, and I'm looking forward to it. So, see what BTC does this weekend. I have a feeling it's gonna be one of those weekends where it's like too much excitement, and I just don't want to watch the charts. But we'll have to wait and see. Thanks, guys, for everything. Thanks for the comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.